and kissed me close to my mouth. And then again, on my mouth. And I froze.
This is our secret, and you're a good girl, and don't tell anyone. Don't tell your parents. Don't tell your dad, his brother.
I just remember staring at myself in the bathroom mirror. I can still see myself, even though I was only 8.
Can you tell me your story?
Sadly, this is too epidemic in our lives, and there is a great new documentary film that follows 5 women's true stories of sexual abuse. It's called The Girl Who Cannot Speak. Stefano Da Fre is with us. He and his partner, Laura Pellegrini, worked on this project and just did such an amazing job with it, co-producing, co-directing, all of that. So, Stefano, welcome. And the first question is, why do this documentary? What led you to this?
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a pleasure and an honor, especially to get this message out. We started production. Laura and I had talked about doing this production in this documentary in about June of 2017, and Laura had worked at a women's shelter in Westchester, and there were many, many cases of women that we were considering to do documentaries about that had stories of how they rebuilt their lives, how they became sort of heroes in their own stories. In October of that year is when the Weinstein scandal had hit. And that's when we knew that that was like a sign from the universe that we had to take this much more seriously. And it also helped us get the financing for putting together this project because it was going to require a lot of people, a lot of different individuals from different cities, and just trying to source as many people as possible. We were off and running in October. We shot the documentary over the course, I would say, of 3 months between November, December, and into January of 2018. And then we started with the Cannes Film Festival, and then with NBC. Then it was on NBC.com and interviewed by Andrea Mitchell on her show, and it was available for streaming on their NBC platform for about 4 months for their Meet the Press shorts documentaries.
And what do you hope, obviously you want a wide net, what do you hope people get out of watching this? It's a great question, because I think every time that I have someone that sees the documentary, especially if I'm in the room or we play it at a screening, whether it screens at a festival or whether it screens at a theater in New York, we've had we've been asked by a lot of private screenings here and over on the West Coast. People always come up to you and they tell you things that are so personal. Yeah. It's a shock. It's a real shock for me. The amount of people have come up to me and just that you're holding afterwards, that will cry in your arms. Women and men, actually, shockingly enough. So you are receiving sometimes people that you've just met that have such an emotional reaction from the film, their experiences and their trauma. And when they come up to you, that's better than anything. I mean, yes, it's great to have it play at festivals, and the NBC is great and all that stuff, but and being, but really that's the most important, because you realize that many people are in pain and they're suffering in silence. And so I've heard things. One of the women in the documentary, Claire, told me that because of the doc, she was able to tell her boys. She had never told her boys before. Wow.
And I mean, you don't know that when you're going to start off. You right. Start off, you want to have a good documentary, but you don't know that
how that's going to work if you're going to get there. But if you can have some impact in people's lives, my God, that's really what it's all about. That's why we're here. That's why all of us are here in a way.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're speaking with Stefano Da Fre, and he and his partner Laura Pellegrini came up with this amazing documentary, co-directors and producers of The Girl Who Cannot Speak. And what bravery for these women to come forward and tell their stories, right?
Oh my God! I mean, just prepping. First of all, the process with Laura and myself, I can't speak highly enough of having a partner. We're a very rare duo because she's a female director and I'm a male director, and you don't see a lot of that. And you don't see that a lot in the dialogue of people. It's either usually one or the other. And but Laura and I have been collaborating on the past 7 films together, and having her sensitivity and her background with having worked at a shelter, we were then able to look at the stories of individuals. We probably sourced 50 to 55 people through different contacts of shelters that we had in the New York City area. And then from that, we had to meet them. They had enough courage to then talk to us. And that takes a long time because you have to trust each other, right? So you're meeting someone who then you've read their story and you've spoken to them on the phone, and then they're trusting you to put it on film. And the preparation, I think, for that documentary was very delicate because the environment is everything. And, 5 women end up being documented in the film, but we had about 7 ready to roll. And I can tell you that 2 beforehand had called me up and said, "Listen, Stefano, I'm really sorry, but I can't." And I said, "Of course, I understand that you don't feel comfortable." So even no matter how it is, you'll always there's always people you have to give. Everyone is different. Everyone is not ready to share at the same time as publicly as it is. So I'm grateful for having these 5. Their voices speak on behalf of many voices that are not at the place in their life where they've been able to share their own story.
Yeah. 8 out of 10 rape cases, the victim knows the attacker. 13.3% of college women say they've been forced to have sex in a dating situation. Only 28% of victims report their sexual assault to the police. For you personally, going through this, what do you hope happens as far as change in our country and the way women are seen and treated?
Well, I think, first of all, those statistics are totally right. It's the highest crime. We knew this going in when we did some statistical research. It's the highest crime that is not reported. And I think it begins at a young age, including also educating young men in terms of how we talk about women. I mean, there's some very important things that you have to check at the door as well, being a guy. When as guys growing up in high school and in college, we talk about women and we validate other men's experiences based on how well they did. Did you score? Did you go to second base, first base? So that dialogue is part of the overall narrative of how we are treating each other in all the wrong ways. So that's one part that I'd like to talk about, and also is in the documentary about how women who are in personal relationships that the other men that they've been with afterwards are also suffering because of an original crime by someone else when they then try to rebuild their lives. Secondly, for women alone specifically, that the resources now more than ever are available for them.
now more than ever that even though, college campuses now are bringing up, I just saw this with Syracuse. I got contacted by Syracuse University and I got contacted by UCLA Berkeley. And they want to play this for their dean of students in their programs for their freshmen, this documentary at their school. And we said, yes, absolutely. Because if women can feel that there is a platform for them to then share their stories and speak up and report it, and when you diminish the stigma to it, you have them getting support immediately, and that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. And at the same time, we have to change the way that men and women talk about and recognize that trauma starts early. It doesn't start from just the act at the end. It starts early on from how we talk about each other.
Boy, so well said. Perfect place to end this. Stefano Da Fre, thank you so much. Go to thegirlwhocannot.speak.com to find out more.
It's such a pleasure being with you, and thank you for being so calm and so sweet to us and getting the message out. And just want to say a shout out again to St. Louis Film Festival. We will be playing at the St. Louis Film Festival from November 8th to the 17th in St. Louis, Missouri, and it's an Oscar qualifier there. And just want to send you a virtual hug from my phone right now.
Thank you, Stefano. Have a great one.